So you're ready to make an offer on a home. Okay, now what? Well, I'm Jason.polykoff, aka Polly the Realtor, and I'm here to tell you what is the next step once you're ready to make an offer on a house. See, I'm assuming that you've already seen a bunch of homes, contacted a real estate agent, and now it's time to pull the trigger. It's time to make that offer on the house. You might say, okay, yeah, I'm ready, but how? What do I do? What happens next? Well, good news. Your real estate agent should be the one helping you out with that process, and he or she will talk you all through it. But just in case, here's some things I want you to keep in mind. First off, of course, you want to think about what is going to be your offer, right? What are you going to offer to purchase the home for? Some of you may decide, I'm not sure I want to give the full asking price. I'll go a little bit under because I think it might not be worth as much as they're listing it for. Others might be saying, let me just give them what they're asking for so I get a good shot of getting it. And still others might say, I really want this property, so I'm going to offer more than the asking price, and hopefully mine will be the most desirable offer, and they'll go with me. So that's for you and your real estate agent to decide and really think about strategically what is the right price to offer on the home. So that's the first thing. The next thing you're also going to want to consider is when you are going to close on the home, right? And that's usually correlated to the lending. Right? So you might end up getting a conventional loan, which goes a little bit quicker, or an FHA loan, which takes a little bit longer, or VA loan or a USDA loan, which also takes a little bit longer. But typically, you can close on a home somewhere between 30 and 45 days. If you really want to make your offer look strong, and make sure you talk to a lender about this, whether they can make this happen, then try to close even sooner than 30 days, like 21 days. If you can do that, well, the seller, who probably wants to unload that property relatively quickly, will think your offer is more desirable. All right, so we've picked out the purchase price, we've picked out the closing. Now let's talk about this thing called contingencies. Now, contingencies are things that allow you to essentially back out of the agreement if for some reason something comes up that causes the deal to go haywire. So some of the more popular, more well-known contingencies might be something like an inspection contingency, meaning that before you decide you're going to buy this property, you're going to have somebody come in, a professional inspector, and research the entire property. Go look up, down, under things, over things, within whatever, and give you a huge report about all the things that's going on with that property. You might then say, well, I want them to fix some things, and they might decide they don't want to fix those things. Well, because you had this contingency in the contract, you can back out of the deal if you want. What else could you do? Well, there's another contingency called the appraisal contingency. And that basically says, even though they list the property for a certain price, it doesn't mean that it's worth that price. And if you put an offer in to get it at that price, but then a professional appraiser comes in and compares your property to other properties, he or she may say, well, actually, it's not worth all that. And guess what? The bank won't lend you any more money than what it's appraised for. So you put a contingency in there that says, well, if the bank's not going to lend me that money, I don't want to buy this house. That means I have to put more money out of my pocket. So an appraisal contingency can be a really good option in case that property appraises for less than what you purchased it for. Another strong one is the mortgage contingency. And that says that I'm going to secure this lending from this mortgage company. I'm going to secure this lending for this property. But in case I don't, because of something that went haywire, I want to have the opportunity to back out of that property. All right. Now, all these contingencies are important because you want to be able to back out and you want to be able to get back something called earnest money. Right? So that leads me to the next piece of the offer. When you go to write an offer, you're going to want to put a deposit down on that property. That deposit tells the seller that you're super interested in that property. Right? The higher the deposit, usually it's somewhere around 1 to 3%, of the purchase price. But the higher the deposit, the more you're telling the seller, I really want this property. Right? And if I ever decide to back out at any point, if it's not through your contingencies, I just decide, forget it, never mind. Well, then you will lose that deposit and it'll go to the seller. So the higher the deposit the seller knows, the more interested you are in this property, because you don't want to lose that money. So you figured out purchase price, you know when you're going to close, you figured out all your contingencies, and of course you have your deposit money that you put down on the property, how much you want to put down. So what's the last thing to consider? Well, I would consider any additional comments or clauses that you want to make on this property, right? So there's a section at the end of the agreement for this property that allows you to write any additional information that you want to put in there. You might put something like, I don't know, that I would like you to keep the playset in the backyard when I purchase this property. Or you might say, this agreement is only if you let us know by, 24 hours from now, or whatever it may be. You can add any additional pieces to the agreement that you want within the contract that allows the seller, causes the seller to make up his or her mind as to whether or not they want to continue to go with this agreement or not. And if all goes well and you think strategically about all that information, you'll get a seller that says, that's a great idea. Let's go with this offer. I'll accept it. And now you're under what they call, you're under contract. And now you have the ball in your court as to whether you think this is the property for you. And most likely, and hopefully, it is. So that's just a general idea of what it looks like when you are ready to put an offer in on a home. Every situation, of course, is different, and there's more information that I can share with you. And if you ever want to buy a house and want me to help you through that process, please, please, please reach out. I would love to help everyone find the home of their dreams. My contact information is in the description below. And I'm always here on the Poly the Realtor YouTube channel to give you as much content and information as possible.